Hey, fellow travelers, Mark here with Wolters World, and today we're here in Colombia, and today what we have for you are the don'ts of visiting Colombia. And I gotta tell you this, no matter where you go in Colombia, don't expect to have a quiet vacation. From the fun people to the chivo bombero, the party buses, to the music, the fun, the salsa, everything, everywhere you go, from the birds to the animals, this is a loud place to be, and you just have to accept it because you're gonna love it. Because the cities, the people, the culture, the outdoors, everything. But yes, it will be a bit loud. And that's why we're here in the mangroves to get away from some little quiet time. But that's one thing you need to know. Second don't I have for you is don't think that Colombia is this dangerous place. It's not the 80s. It's not the 90s. Pablo Escobar isn't going to come here and kidnap you. Colombia is fantastic and it's fun and it's safe. You can go and enjoy Cartagena. You can enjoy Medellin, Cali, Bogota, some of the small villages that are out there. Don't worry, I'll talk about the great colonial towns later. But honestly, you don't have to be freaked out when you come here because Colombia is fantastical. So another important don't I think you should know as a tourist when you're coming, whether it's here in Cartagena or you're going to Bogota, Medellin, any place around there, realize that don't think anything is free, okay? Because, So don't think anything is free because no matter what you do, people want to pay. They might want to give you a massage if you're on the beach, or they might want to rap for you, or they might want to do whatever, but just realize there's never anything that's free when you are here. So if someone offers you a massage on the beach, or they are doing the rapping thing, or there's people, want to take a picture with the ladies with the fruit on their head, these kind of things, do realize you do need to tip them, okay? Don't think it's free. Even they say, oh, it's just free picture, or free this. Eventually someone might be asking you for a little bit of a tip. So if you want to do it, go ahead, but don't think it's free, because just like anywhere, nobody gives a gift for free when you're a tourist. Another thing I gotta tell you is don't be anti-soup when you come here to Colombia. They love their soups. We're talking like for breakfast, you might have soup. You might have caldo de res or caldo de pescado, so like a beef broth or a fish broth or a chicken broth. You have that. But also, there's a lot of other really great soups that are here. Sancocho, which is bean potatoes. Hallaco, if you're in, by Bogota and other places. It's a really chicken and potato soup. I mean, there's so many great soups here, but the thing is, don't be surprised you have soup for breakfast because that is just a thing that's here. And also another don't I have for you with the food is don't be anti-arepa. You're not sure what arepa is? It's basically cornbread. It's not cornbread. Don't think of cornbread back home, but like a bread that's made out of corn. And they have all kinds of these you'll see these little circle things, small, medium size. Sometimes there's stuff with eggs, so arepa de huevo, or you might have it with cheese, so arepa de queso. You might have that, or just on the side, but arepas will be all over. Just know you're gonna have a lot of arepas when you're here, so don't be anti-arepa. And regardless, wherever you are in the country, I gotta tell you this, don't throw the toilet paper in the toilet. The pipes cannot handle it. So that bin by the toilet, that's where the TP goes. So just have a heads up. Now, when you're coming to Colombia, I got to tell you this. Don't forget to have cash, okay? Now, I'm not saying have US dollars everywhere. You're going to need the Colombian peso, but cash is king here. Now, if you go to like more popular restaurants and tourist places, they'll take card, but yeah, you need to have cash when you're here. Just grab some cash at the airport. You can do it that way. Also, don't get the conversion. Remember, they always give you that bad rate. The same thing happens here. Now, another thing I think is important when you're talking about directions or any kind of questions you ask people here, don't think yes or sí always means yes. Colombians want people to be happy, so they just say yes. So you kind of agree with them and everything's okay. So what you might want to do is phrase your questions more in ways that will get them to explain their answer versus a yes-no, because they might just say yes to tell you yes. So do be aware of that. And of course, one of the most important don'ts is don't spell Colombia with a U. Colombia, that's like a school in New York. That's not a country. Colombia is with an O, because you will get the side eye from the locals when you spell it wrong. And I'm sure when you're looking up stuff on how do I know what to see in Colombia, you might have spelled it with a U instead of an O. So remember, Colombia is with an O. And when you are here in Colombia, don't ever pass up dancing, because the music here, the people here, there's so much fun. There's so much dancing here. You will dance. And it doesn't mean anything. They're not trying to marry you. They just want you to have fun and have a good time dancing. So don't ever pass up dancing when you are here in Colombia. So now we're here in the streets of Gethsemane in Cartagena, and I gotta tell you this, don't pass up the street food when you're here in Colombia. There are so many great things you can have, from the fresh fruit. Yeah, get that sliced up mango from the street vendor.
Get the oblea, which is like the wafers with the caramel in the middle or other things. Yes, that's fantastic. Get some empanadas in there. You can't pass up arepa de queso when you're here, like a little cornbready kind of thing with some cheese inside. I mean, you're going to get street food when you're here. Now, I will say, don't necessarily get the street food that's meat, okay? Get the other ones when you're here. But yeah, street food is a must when you're here. And I think another thing we're going to tell you when it comes to food is don't be weirded out by all the cheese fascination they have here in Colombia, because cheese comes up a lot. And we're talking chocolate con queso, hot chocolate with cheese in it. Yes, that combination is fantastic. I really recommend the sweetness and the saltiness together. Oh, it's so good. But there's actually, like, here you can get mote de queso, which is basically a yam and cheese soup. Oh yeah, you have that. Or the cheese breads, I don't know, pan de yuca, pan de bono. I mean, I just put a lineup of all the cheese breads they have here. I mean, they love their cheese. Even the birds are like, cheese, 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 give us more cheese. Yeah, you'll have lots of cheese when you're here. I mean, one of my favorite ones, they have cheese with brigadeiro. Brigadeiro is like a guava paste. And I had a plantain with guava paste and cheese in it. Oh my God. So just know, you will have some cheesy goodness when you are here. And when you are here, don't forget, you need to greet everyone. When you come into the hotel, greet the people at the front door that are getting it for you. Greet the people at the front desk. The workers are there. That is one of those things here in Colombia. It's very much a personal greeting country. The people are super friendly. But they do like when you say hi and say buenos dias, hey, you acknowledge them. It really goes a long way, because that's one of those things where I see Colombians in the U.S. get upset when, people in America are like, why aren't they saying hi? What's going on? We're friends. Why didn't you give me a greeting? It is one of those things. Make sure you're greeting everybody. Even if you're walking down the street, make eye contact, buenos dias, a couple of stars. You can have those things. Yes, the street vendors will take that as an opportunity to sell to you. But honestly, don't pass up a chance to individually greet people when you come here. It's not like in France, you say bonjour in general at the door. It's more like buenos dias to you and you and you, and you say it each different time. So that's one of those things will definitely ingratiate you with the locals here. Now, this next stone isn't really an issue here in Cartagena, but if you're going to be going to Bogota, you'll be going in the mountains. I got to say this, don't mess with the altitude sickness. If you're going to be flying into Bogota, like that's your first city, and you're going to stay there for a while, relax the first day, because that altitude sickness can get to you. We're talking headaches, shortness of breath. You got high blood pressure that can be dangerous. So do take it easy your first day in the higher elevations, because that's where a lot of tourists end up with some really tough problems. Also, I think an important thing to mention in Colombia, because people think Colombia, oh, it's the beaches and salsa and dancing and great weather all the time. Look, don't think the weather is the same throughout the country. The weather's basically based on elevation, because you have the higher mountains, like Bogota. I was wearing a sweater in Bogota, and now I'm here at the beach in Cartagena, with t-shirts all the time. But honestly, the weather is different throughout the country. So if you're going to be doing like a pan-Colombian trip, make sure you check that 10-day forecast in each of the different places you're going to go, because yes, here in Cartagena, they basically have two seasons, hot and hotter. But you know what? You go to Bogota, it's a big difference when you go there. And Medellin as well, if you're going to Cali. So do pay attention to that. It's not just all one weather pattern here in Colombia. Now, another thing I would mention is, if you're going to be here in Colombia, don't expect excellent service when you're going to restaurants and stuff. I mean, they'll be friendly and things, but don't expect it to be fast. I think just in general, I got to tell you, don't get in a hurry when you're in Colombia. Things take a little bit more time, so you need to have the patience. And that includes when you go to restaurants, because the servers, to get you seated, to get your drinks to you, your menu to you, these kind of things, it does take time. And sometimes I've seen some tourists get a little frustrated about that. Just realize, patience, my friend, patience is going to be helpful when you're looking at service here in Colombia. But I'll tell you, when they bring you those local drinks, you're going to love your server, okay? Because I got to tell you this, don't pass up the local drinks when you're here. And yes, that can be the aguardiente, which is the local spirit if a local offers it to you. Yeah, maybe it's a good way to have a chat. I mean, be careful it's at a club though, right? Because, you want to watch out for drink spiking in like Cartagena at the clubs and things. But in general, you're not passing up a drink from a local, because they are really friendly. And aguardiente, the local spirit, is one of those big ones. But I'm going to tell you, the best drink to have is anything with lulo. That's the, basically it looks like an orange. It has a little bit more of a tarty flavor. But if you have lulada, which is more like a lulo limeade, oh my God, it's fantastic. Have when you're here. If they offer you lulo juice, have it. I mean, the jugos, the juices here, you don't want to pass it up. And you'll see juice stands, you'll see smoothies, you'll see all kinds of things. I mean, literally every color of the rainbow, you'll have that in basically fruits here, and to have the drinks to go along with it, which is awesome. And there's one I really like, cholao, which is basically, think about a fruit cocktail mixed with condensed milk. Oh yeah, it's awesome. So do not pass up the local drinks when you're here. And honestly, a lot of places we've gone, it's hard to get a Sprite. You can get a Coke, but getting a Sprite or something else a little more difficult, that's fine, because they always have juices for you. And the thing is, talking about those drinks, I have a special don't for my coffee fans. Don't expect the coffee to be great here in Colombia. Yes, I know, this is the home of Juan Valdez. This is where all those coffee beans are from. When I go to Starbucks, it says real Colombian coffee. Yes, it's grown here, but it's not roasted here. It's not processed here. It's usually processed someplace else. And so when you have coffee here, it's called tinto. It's not as good as you expect it to be. You're like, oh, we're in Colombia. It should be fantastic. And you're like, oh, yeah, it's coffee. If you want to have really good coffee, go to a cafe and have that. If you just need a shot of caffeine to get you going, you'll see people selling it in thermoses on the side of the street, and you can have some tinto that way, and you'll be all right.
A set of don'ts you have to realize when you're in Cartagena is about time. One thing, don't get in a hurry. This is very much a relax, things will take a little more time kind of city, and so you have to realize that. So don't get upset if your tour starts a little bit later or it takes a little while to get your seat or get your order. It's all about taking your time, okay? And that's why I got to tell you, don't try to do things before 10 a.m. because that's when things kind of open up. Otherwise, it's kind of really calm before that, let's say. Also, don't doubt the power of the siesta because you have big lunches here. And so when you have a big lunch, you're going to want to take a siesta afterwards. And also, here's a little hint. The locals, they have a big lunch and a small dinner. If you're wondering, if you're from the U.S., you don't have to bring a converter because their plugs are like the U.S. However, if you come from Europe, get those U.S. converters, adapters. That's what goes in here. So I'm up here in Montserrat now in Bogota, and another don't I have for you is don't joke about Pablo Escobar and cocaine and drugs and narcos and things like that, because that's a really horrible part of Colombia's history. Millions of people were displaced, thousands were killed. It's not something you really joke about when you are here. I know that's what we kind of know about for Colombia, but don't be joking about that. And honestly, don't think it's the 80s and 90s. You know, a lot of people are like, it's not safe to go to Colombia. You don't go there. Things are going to happen. Look, you can travel around Colombia. It's as safe as other places in South America. It's safe as places other places around the world. You got to be smart when you're here. Don't forget to use common sense, but don't think it's the 80s and 90s with the kidnappings and murders and all this stuff all the time. No, that's in the past, and that kind of upsets the locals when you kind of talk about that too, because it's changed. But I will be honest, there are some safety things you need to remember. One, don't let your drink out of your sight, especially if you're going clubbing in Cartagena and Medellin, other places where lots of tourists are, because getting scoped, when you get drugged, that does happen occasionally to tourists when you're here. You can hear horror stories about it, especially with some of the dating apps and stuff we're going out, so do be aware of that. And also, if you're here in Colombia and someone younger, like 10 or 20 years younger, is hitting on you, don't think it's for love, okay? So be aware of that, because a lot of people are coming here to meet the beautiful people that are here, so do be aware of that. Now, another safety thing, I think this is one that's really important, especially here in Bogota, is don't mess with the altitude. If you're flying into Bogota from the U.S., or you're coming from Cartagena and other places that are more near sea level, you're up here pretty high, and that altitude, it can take your breath away. It can give you headaches. So I would say this, don't overdo it your first day in Bogota, or don't mess with the altitude sickness. Give yourself time, really hydrate, drink your water, have those things, and don't worry, in the big cities, you can drink the water when you're here. Rural areas, I would stick to bottled water and things, but you do want to be careful with the altitude sickness because it can get you. And if you're in the cities and you want to get around, don't be afraid to ask your hotel or the bar or the restaurant you're at to get a taxi for you, because you don't necessarily want to grab taxis off the road all the time, especially late night. It's better to, have a hired taxi. There's apps that can get you taxis too, and so you can do that. But we've used our hotel. They've been very helpful to get us taxis and also arranges for us getting picked up from our restaurants. So that's one of those kind of safety things I'd want to tell you about. And also, and just like anywhere, late night, walk in groups, don't walk by yourself. Just be aware, it's normal travel safety. Now, another don't I have for you is you're going to be traveling around the country. Don't expect the national buses to be fast. It's a mountainous country in parts, and it takes a long time on the buses. So I would invest in flying. Avianca's a good airline. Actually, you might have seen Wolters World videos on their planes sometimes. But honestly, flying to Cartagena, flying to Medellin, is going to save you hours and hours and hours. So I'd recommend that over doing the national buses when you are here. And my last little don't from up here is don't think you can take out a fritango by yourself, the picado, because when you get it, it's tons and tons of grilled meats and snacks and stuff. And it's something you share. And if you don't have any friend to share it with, go meet one of the Colombians and have dinner with them and have fritango with them. It's just a ton of meat, a ton of fun. But yeah, you definitely don't want to take it on yourself. If you're Medellin, don't be surprised if you hear people call you parce, because it's like, hey, buddy, that's a total Medellin thing, just FYI. So don't I have you when you're getting your juices, especially your limonada and your limeade kind of stuff, don't get rid of your straw. You're going to need to stir it often to keep the flavor going, let's say. So now we're here, the San Felipe Fortress here in Cartagena. You've got Cartagena behind us. There's Boca Grande there. And Another don't I think is really important for you to realize is don't be mean to the street vendors. Now, I know I talk about don't get overrun by them, don't get annoyed by them, but also don't be mean to them because remember, they're just doing their job. That's how they feed their family. And people don't come mess with you when you're doing your job at work, right? So think of it that way. And actually what I found is if you talk to the street vendors, if you speak some Spanish, they're actually pretty nice and they'll give you some insider tips without asking for anything. So it's kind of a cool thing to do. So don't be mean to them. But also I kind of want to put with this is like not just the street vendors, but don't pass up a chance to talk to some of the local Colombians because they love their country. They're going to tell you what food to have, where you need to go, tell you about the different classes that are here and things that you might not know as a tourist, which is really kind of cool. So don't pass up the chance to meet them because Colombians really are super friendly when you are here. Now, one of the times when you might not think it's super friendly is another thing you need to realize is sometimes don't be afraid to haggle, especially if you're at the market. There's no prices on there. Know what it's worth to you, and then you can haggle a little bit. It's not like places where you go to the Middle East, other places where you're haggling a lot, but it is something to kind of think about where you might do a little bit of haggling when you are here. And another little money thing I think is important to mention is don't think you have to tip when you are here in Colombia, because look on your bill. If it says propina on there or servicio, but I usually say propina, that's tip. So the service is actually already included. Now, if they're really good, yes, you can tip them some more. No big deal. But honestly, most of the time the tip is already included, so you don't have to do that. Though, don't forget to tip your guides if you are here. Now, a couple more don'ts I have for you when we're up here in San Felipe is about to do with the C words. No, not that C word. One is chocolate. Don't pass up on chocolate when you are here. Yeah, I talked about the chocolate con queso, but I mean, the chocolate here in Colombia is fantastic. But also, don't expect the coffee to be good. I know you're like, wait, this is the country of Juan Valdez. Shouldn't the coffee be great? No, the tinto, the local coffee you'll have in your little cup and everything, usually not super great because they do grow the beans here, but then they ship them out. They export them to get roasted and done up. So the coffee, don't expect the coffee to be fantastic like you think it would be being from the country of Juan Valdez here in Colombia, all right? Now, if you're coming to Colombia, I gotta tell you this, don't forget to brush up on your Spanish. Now, I'm not saying you have to be fluent when you're here, but if you are fluent, it does make life a lot easier, but you do need to know some Spanish when you are here. It makes life so much easier because even in the tourism industry, you're going to restaurants in the Zona Rosa here in Bogota, they're not going to speak English, okay? So you're going to need to know some Spanish when you're here. Even if it's just the basics like gracias, which is thank you, or hola, which is hello, buenos dias, very important, like I talked about before, to say good day. You want to make sure you can communicate. So that's why it's good. Have a translation app on your phone if you can't speak Spanish. Know some of those basic words when you're here in Colombia because it will make a difference when you're here. And when you're going around Colombia, whether you're here in the high elevations in Bogota, if you're on the beaches, you're going to Cartagena, or you're going to Cali, I got to tell you this, don't forget sun protection, okay? Make sure you're wearing hats and sunblock and reapplying because I'm here in Bogota and it's really chilly. I'm going to go put a jacket on when I walk around town. Not just for the rain, but for the weather. But the UV rays when you're the higher elevations and when you're near the equator, I mean, it is a lot stronger and you get burned a lot faster. And I've seen the purple tourists here as well. So don't mess with the sun when you're here. And also, don't mess with the bugs if you're in the Amazon part or in your lower elevations because they can be bad too. So have that bug spray. So don't forget to bring the sunblock and the bug spray when you're here. Have a hat. It's going to make a big difference for you. And honestly, I know I'm filming this in Bogota and Cartagena, but I want to tell you this. Don't just do Bogota, Medellin, Cartagena, and stay in that kind of triangle. Go explore more. Go to the coffee plantations. Go out there and see how the coffee's made. Go to the coastline. The Pacific coast is gorgeous. It's dangerous. Don't mess around with the water on the Pacific coast, but it's beautiful out there. Going to see the villages, going out to explore more. If you're staying in Cartagena or Bogota or Medellin or Cali, see if you can do a day trip into some of the villages just to see some of those things. Because it could be ecotourism, it could be cooking, it could be all kinds of stuff. But that's where we're really going to get to meet some even more locals, have a great time when you're here. And I just want to kind of give you some of these don'ts of coming here to Colombia because honestly, it's another fantastic country in South America that we really enjoyed. So don't let those 80s and 90s and Narcos and Pablo Escobar stuff scare you from coming here because Colombia is super cool. So have a great time and I'll say bye from here in Bogota, Colombia.